Warning: this episode may contain content that is not suitable for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, look, this shows the hypocrisy of liberalism. You know, liberals are the ones who decry conservatives for not believing in science. And yet, when it comes to this issue of gender, it is the liberals who are denying science.
Transgendered bathrooms have come out of nowhere and are being jammed down our throat. I guarantee you, the next stop on this train is pedophilia.
Miriam Heine from the University of Würzburg, and she claims that pedophilia is a natural sexual orientation, just like heterosexuality.
You describe yourself as a pedophile. You admit that you are a pedophile.
Yes.
What this is about, when you really go around about this, what this is the mainstreaming of sexual capacity for people of all ages. What they're doing here is not necessarily trying to argue it's okay for adult men to have sex with little kids. What they're getting around about here is the idea that little children as young as 5 and 6 years old, younger, should be able to have sex with whoever they want. But this is predictable. When we refuse to draw the line anywhere with regards to these progressive initiatives, you're going to give them an inch, they're going to take miles and miles and miles.
Pedophilia is natural and normal, according to an academic presentation last year at the University of Wake Forest, Cambridge. The defense of pedophiles is, well, a disturbing trend, and arguments are being made by some university academics at summer conferences. According to Philip Tremovich, a professor at a university in Japan, on the prevalence of pedophilia, the majority of men are probably pedophiles and hebephiles, and that pedophilic interest is normal and natural in human males. Sun News contributor Marissa Semkiel joins me now in studio. Okay, so there are probably a lot of guys watching this right now and saying, oh, I'm not a pedophile. I have no idea. And by the way, the word hebephile refers to people who are in between 11 and 14. Marissa, do you think that there is an increasing push from academics to, let's say, push the boundaries when it comes to what's acceptable in child sex, essentially?
Not just academics, actual political groups with sort of political objectives. But yes, absolutely, there are members of the political or rather academic establishment that are trying to push the limits on the acceptability of child sex. Back in 2012, for instance, in the House of Commons, Dr. Jizinjem, he's a professor and psychologist at the University of Montreal. This is when they were debating how to amend the criminal code with respect to sexual crimes against children. I want to pull up a board of what he said here. He said pedophiles are grappling with what is equivalent to a sexual orientation, just like another individual may be grappling with heterosexuality, crazy, or even homosexuality. And if we agree on the fact that true pedophiles have an exclusive preference for children, which is the same as having a sexual orientation. So he uses language like sexual orientation there. That is not uncommon. Dr. James Cantor of CAMH, I recall in an interview with the Toronto Star, referred to pedophilia as a sexual orientation.
Now to a story about one of the most sensitive subjects imaginable, the abuse of children. There are some people who think attitudes and actions towards pedophiles should be adjusted. Correspondent Shannon Bream explains.
A small group of psychiatrists and other mental health professionals is advocating changes to the way the American Psychiatric Association defines pedophilia in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or DSM, saying those they call minor attracted persons are being unfairly stigmatized.
Instead, a psychiatric term gets turned into something that's just a demonizing pejorative. That troubles me.
Wow. He's saying this is a sexual orientation, like being heterosexual, like being homosexual. It's not something that can be changed. Is that accurate?
He's saying it's an orientation fixed from birth, which some of the research is showing now. It's hard to measure because, children don't have sex or look at pornography or all the things that we might use to measure sexual orientation. So we really don't know, but an orientation is different from a compulsion. Right. And one of the things we know about pedophiles is that they are often compulsive. By the way, pedophilia is when there's more than 5 years age difference between the perpetrator and the victim is prepubescent. So let's call him someone who has a sexual orientation towards children. We don't know if he's really a pedophile.
I'm going to bring him in. His name is Todd. This is the man who wrote the article. He says he is a pedophile. He is a moderator for a website, Virtuous Pedophiles, via verped.org. And Todd, you were a young teenager when you first realized you were attracted to children. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
And what?
I was 13.
And what did you do to combat this? How are we? I mean, I think some people would be skeptical when you say I've controlled these urges.
Well, when I was 13, I repressed a lot of it. I kind of felt like it was it was something that I would get past eventually. So I didn't really dwell on it too much.
And Todd, you had sexual abuse in childhood. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And you became a drug addict also, right?
Yeah, but that had to do with when I was depressed and.
Well, but being unregulated, being traumatized, that's I would say 100% of my patients, well, for sure. If you had bad enough addiction that you needed to see me when I was running a program, you had physical or sexual or both abuse in childhood. That's just the way it goes. But so drug addiction is set up by this many times. My question then is, how do you know what you did when you were loaded?
Well, I never got that high. I took a few hydrocodone just to kind of deal with the pain. I was working out every day, so I was in physical pain a lot from that because I was depressed, and when you're depressed, your brain doesn't deal with doesn't produce the chemicals that alleviates pain.
Todd, I want to get some input from our audience here, if you don't mind. Yes, sir, go ahead.
I just have a question about what support exists for that. If we're saying that it is like alcoholism, is there programs, is there support to prevent people that have come out as saying, like, this is something I'm inclined towards?
I think that's part of the issue.
This is what he's doing.
That's the main thing.
Well,
he's creating a community. He's creating a community so that if you have these feelings, as opposed to acting out on them, which is the horrible crime, that means that a child is being put in that position.
Yeah.
You go to this community and you try and work through it with other people.
But it's also dealing with the mental health issues that we don't deal with in this nation.
Is he going
as
to the community for treatment, or is he going to the community to talk about having sex with children? It's like a drunk-a-log at a...
Well, Brett documented a day in the life of his infantilism. Take a look.
This is something I wanted to show you guys. The crib was made by one of my best friends. I got the crib design from online for an actual adult baby crib. The crib altogether was around $350 to $500. Money well spent, in my opinion.
Make you happy, boy.
This is the chair I made right after my crib. It's a high chair. It's 3.5 feet off the ground. This probably costs around $250 to $400 to do all together. I throw stuff off here. I have tantrums. I eat. I get messy.
More?
Yeah. Oh. The food was on the tray. I'm in my baby chair.
If you haven't heard the name Desmond Napoles, get ready for this trailblazing 11-year-old drag kid who RuPaul is calling the future. His bravery is inspiring so many. We're going to talk to him in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at his amazing story.
I'm Desmond. I'm 11 years old, and I like pizza, trains, and drinking root beer since it's caffeine-free. I also do drag, and I love to put on makeup, dresses, and wigs, and of course, jewelry if necessary. My full drag name is Desmond is Amazing. I feel very happy to have a mom that accepts me.
It really touches me deeply that there are other children out there that he's reaching and they're listening to him and he's influencing them to be themselves.
I'm very proud of him. I'm proud that he's found his path so early.
My greatest joy in this is just seeing Desmond happy.
I love doing drag because it makes me feel amazing and self-expressive. It just feels amazing to know that people love what I do. My one big message would be 3 words: be yourself always.
Please welcome Desmond Napoles, a.k.a. Desmond is Amazing. How you doing?
Thanks for being here. I love that you love root beer, caffeine free. I can get on board with that.
My mom doesn't like me drinking caffeine.
Does it make you hyper? Yeah, me too. They don't like when I drink caffeine either. But Desmond, you're one of the youngest and first drag queen/kids. And I've heard that you've gotten messages.
Footage of the performance just in general showing how sexually explicit a lot of the dance moves that were going on were.
Celebrate Pride on the progress we've made over these past years, there's still work to be done. So to those of you out there who are still working against equal rights, we have a message for you.
You think we're sinful? You fight against our rights. You say we all lead lives you can't respect. But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep them from disco, warn about San Francisco. And someone's gotta teach them not to hate. We're coming for
Prague is not involved in this, although he probably gets some money from it. Do you remember when we were arguing back and forth about gay marriage? And I've had the same opinion on gay marriage, I think, my whole life. It's no business of the government. It's no business of the government. Anybody should be able to marry whoever they want. There shouldn't be anything that involves the government on that. But we didn't argue that. Instead, we got into some weird argument, and it ended up that love wins because Americans are compassionate people. But as we were standing here with our children, I know I've said for years, government has no place, and you can't base it on this because that will open up a slippery slope. How dare you? This is about love. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. For the average person who is gay and wanted marriage, that's what it was about, but not the money. Notice what happened? Then anybody who made a wedding cake, you had to comply. If you took photographs, if you did flowers, you had to comply. Then the next thing was non-gender bathrooms. And I remember saying, how many people is this affecting at Target all over the country? Really? Then it was shout your abortion. Then Caitlyn Jenner, you had to say she was beautiful. Okay. Then non-gender started being talked about in school. It's not just the trans librarian that came somewhere up here. We started saying that there is no gender and that men can have babies. And then there was Leah Thomas. Everybody can be anything and compete. We've lost the difference between men and women. Now we're into serious sex education. I mean, not birds and bees stuff. I mean, actually, toys that should be nowhere around kids. K through 12. The only thing left now is man-boy love. Or what are they calling it?
Bingo. That's what I've been saying. That's what most people can see. This is the logical conclusion that you can come to, is this is what they want to decriminalize. This is where the rubber meets the road, because there is no end when you begin to live in a dysfunctional fallacy of relationships between men and women. You're going to go down a slippery slope. And I'm telling you guys, it started with I just want to love who I want to love. Now that most people probably that's what they want. But no, they have this conflict of interest in their mind in saying, no, that's not enough. The government needs to get involved. People need to accept me. People need to find what I think to be beautiful and unique and important. And then it goes all the way down to them teaching children in school. They're arguing with Ron DeSantis in Florida and saying he's a bad person for saying we're going to hold you accountable for teaching kindergarten through third graders stuff you have no business talking to them about. They get mad at him. And I'm telling you guys, as sure as I'm sitting here today, they got a new concept out. And I'm going to say it's new concept. Instead of, adults and kids, they say, I think it's minor attractive person. Minor attractive person or something like that. That is where they're headed. And if you do not believe that's where they're headed, then you're sleeping under a rock. This is a huge problem, not only in America in a secular sense, but in America in a religious sense. Our religious freedoms are going to be challenged if they continue down this slippery slope, because you are not going to be able to say these things in the church house. You're not going to be able to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ condemning any of these things.